Okay. Hi everyone, this is Dave, East Rosebud Fly and Tackle in beautiful Billings, Montana. Today we're going to continue our series talking about different fly tying materials, and we're going to concentrate on the different elk hairs. We have bull, calf, yearling elk, we have hawk hair, we have rump hair, mane hair. There's a lot of different types of elk hair depending on the animal, the sex, and where it comes on the body. First of all, let's talk about the structure of hair. Imagine a drinking straw, if you will, packed full of polystyrene beads. These are the beads that are packed for styrofoam cups, beanbag chairs, things like that. Imagine a variety of sizes and a variety of thicknesses of the actual bead surfaces. Deer hair has a thinner wall, so the straw itself has a thinner diameter, and the beads within it are smaller and the cell walls are thinner. So deer hair, body hair, typically flares and spins very easily. Belly hair is a different story. Now elk hair not only is slightly larger in diameter than deer hair, but the wall of the straw is stronger, and the beads walls are also stronger. So some elk hair flares and spins just as well as deer hair, particularly cow elk. Others, like bull elk, don't spin or flare quite as well, although they are very strong. I'm not sure how well of a close-up we can get here, but this is deer hair. If you look at it, the individual hairs are very fine, and if we do what I call the pinch test, all you have to do is grab a few hairs and pinch it with your fingernail hard. If it maintains that indentation, then this hair is hollow and will spin or flare well. You look at cow elk by comparison. Cow elk is finer in diameter than bull elk, and it also spins and flares very well. It's more durable than deer hair, and I like to use elk hair wherever I can. So this is natural cow elk. You can see by comparison to bull elk how much darker cow elk is and how much darker the tips are, which can be especially important in tails or wings anytime you want segmentation. Cow elk is a much thicker hair than elk hair, than cow elk. Bull elk is much thicker than cow elk, and it does not spin well, but it does make for very good winging material. Now, what to look for when you're buying a patch of hair? One of the things you look for is straightness. If you're using the hair to spin deer hair bugs or muddler hair minnows or whatever, straightness doesn't matter. You're going to spin and clip it anyway. But if you want the hair for winging materials, like an underwing for a grasshopper or a wing for a muddler minnow, then you really want straight hair. Some of the slant is due to where the patch was taken on the animal. Some of it's due, unfortunately, to poor packaging. I have had some luck trying to straighten curved hair with steam, but it's not a surefire tactic. So that's one of the things you want to look for. In a larger patch of hair, it's almost inevitable that you're going to have some hairs that are curved, depending on where this large strip was taken from the animal. The hair naturally curves around the rump, curves around the ribs, so there's really no escaping that. So depending on what you want the hair for, you need to be conscious of what the hair looks like. You also want to look for, and this is fairly subjective, you won't see it really until you cut some and stack it, the amount of short hairs sometimes can equal or exceed the amount of long hairs, and that can be very frustrating. Again, if you're spinning the deer hair, it's not all that important, but if you want the long hairs for a wing, it can become an issue. Now, you also want to look for how much underfur there is. Now, unfortunately, elk aren't animals that can be bred in captivity very well, so they're typically harvested in the fall, which means that they're going to have a fair amount of underfur. Between the underfur and the hollow hairs, this is what insulates the animal. But some patches can have an aggravating amount of underfur on them, which means that your loss is 50% or more every time you pull a patch off. And then something you also want to look for, if you take something that's dyed or colored, you want to make sure that the color is uniform and that it extends all the way to the base of the hair. If the skin side is well dyed, then you can be pretty well guaranteed that the hair will also be well dyed. But sometimes, and it's a professional's approach to dyeing properly without ruining the hair, but some amateur experiments end up with hair that's really not dyed all that well. So we talked about the pinch test, how to tell the difference between a hollow hair that will spin or flare and what I call a hard hair, a hair that is, the straw is pretty much solid, the spears inside are pretty much solid, so they won't flare. So let's look at some different pieces of hair from different parts of the elk body. Pieces that we've been looking from so far are pretty much called elk body hair. This hair comes from the flanks, the sides of the elk, and along the back. It's all pretty uniform in length and diameter. Elk hock is a special hair. We also get deer hock, which is similar but a little bit finer in diameter than elk hock. The elk hock, of course, comes around from the ankles of the animal, so there's never a lot of it, and the patches are never very big. But the hair is extremely fine. It's very hard and dense. The pinch test will show you that basically won't take it. So this hair is really superb for small flies. If you want to tie wings, something like a larger comparadun or sparkle dun or something like that, this is excellent hair because it will not flare. It makes good tailing material for smaller flies too, because remember, elk is a very durable product. So natural elk hock is a special type of hair from the ankle of the animal. You can also get almost any of these furs in a variety of colors. Elk dyes very well. For example, this is elk hock that has been bleached, so if you're looking for a lighter item that will show the tips better, like in tailing material, then the bleached elk hock would be a good choice. Then we have elk mane. This comes only from the bulls and only along the backs. If you've ever seen bulls in rut, when they get excited, they stand this hair straight up. Makes them look bigger to their competition. You can see how long this hair is. If you're tying streamers or an application where you want really long and straight hairs that won't flare, then elk mane is your choice. It's probably the longest hair on the body, and it's darker than other parts. For example, this is elk rump hair. As it states, it comes around the fanny of the animal. Now it's also very long, just like the hock hair. But as you can see, it's much lighter in color, and it does have a little bit of hollowness. So if you're tying really large bass bugs and you need large circumference hair, then the elk rump hair can work for you in that application. One of my favorite of all of the parts of the elk is the yearling elk. Yearling elk can be hard to find, of course, because most hunters don't want to shoot a calf if they can shoot a big one. But yearling elk has some really nice properties to it. It's thinner in diameter even than cow elk. It approaches deer hair in its ability to be spun and flared, and it's much darker than deer hair and has really nice tips on it. I really like yearling elk when I'm doing collars or heads for muddler minnows, particularly the collars. If I want some contrast from the head, I might spin the head with deer hair or with cow elk hair, and then the collar will be this slightly darker elk mane. This product is not always available. When I get a patch, I usually grab it up because it's useful for so many different applications. Now, as I've shown you, there's many manufacturers. We've looked at Pro's Choice, we've looked at Wapsi, we've looked at Nature's Spirit. There's a variety of pricing ranges, and a lot of it depends on how big the patch is For example, this small patch of elk body hair versus a larger patch. So some price differential is because of the sizes of the patches that you're buying. And various companies sell larger patches, like Nature Spirit has larger patches of their select cow elk, and Wapsi also offers these premium strips. I think part of it too is process of the selection and grading of the hair. I find that Nature Spirit, even though it may be a little more costly, consistently provides a nicer piece of hair. For example, you don't see this. Their packaging is better. I think their quality control is better. And if you're going to be tying a lot of flies, if you're going to be tying a lot of muddler minnows or bass bugs, it really behooves you to buy a larger piece for a couple of reasons. It costs less per patch. You get more hair as you buy more of it. And also you get the consistency across the entire patch. If you were to buy multiple patches of rump hair, for example, they might be slightly different color, there might be slightly different lengths because they may have come from different animals. When you buy a larger patch, you can see how uniform this hair is in color and texture across the entire patch. So I usually go for the big and buy the bigger patches. It saves me money and it saves me less frustration. I know what the hair is going to act like after a very few flies that I tie, and I can depend on it to be consistent. If you have any questions, please contact us. Thanks for watching.